Summer is the feeling of mountain water on your skin. It's the feeling of endless days of hot sun. It's the feeling of a storm building overhead. It's the feeling of light-filled raindrops falling from the sky. Of blue rivers, of abundant fruit and long afternoons. Midsummer in the rainforest is a magical time filled with so much beauty. This time of year is busy, but with so many hours of the day, we find ourselves harvesting from the abundant fruit orchards, cooking from the flavors of the rainforest, spending time celebrating the holiday season, and spending so much time under waterfalls. Everything feels so alive at this time of year. The rainforest growth is intense. The water flows from the mountain springs, and the long afternoons feel endless. In the warm summer sun, we come to these fairy pools and play underneath the waterfall. The abundance of water feels like a gift of the season. The seasons here have been quite dry over the last few months, which means that so many fruit are growing on the trees that would normally be knocked off in heavy rains. This year, if no big rain comes for the next month, we'll have the biggest mango harvest in the last 5 years. Despite the dry, this waterfall always runs. The water comes from a natural spring up high in the mountains. It feels like such an oasis, and the feeling of cool water on such a hot day just recharges us. Our longest day of the year is this week, the summer solstice showing itself in the endless sun reaching outward. I always find it so interesting that in so many different cultures all around the world, solstices were so important. Stone circles, pyramids, temples, all of these prehistoric monuments that honoured the sun and the cycles of the year. Before clocks or calendars existed, we watched the sun. It's our human instinct to worship nature and the seasons, to live closely with this remembrance of how we are part of the earth. So in the season of the sun, we remind ourselves to connect with the beauty of the natural world, to remember to celebrate the longest day, to watch the sun stretch across the mountains and reach further than any time this year, to see each unfurling fern or spring-fed waterfall as a celebration of the season. The goats are absolute rascals for fruit and will do anything, including jumping over fences or climbing trees, just so that they can laze under their favourite tree, eating as many tropical fruits as they possibly can. Yesterday they came home from their paddock with red stains all over them, and smelling of sweet fruit, which can only mean one thing: the jambu must be fruiting. They led me straight here. They know these rainforest tracks better than anyone, and will push me out of the way and tell me exactly which paddock they want to go to. But I'm one step ahead of them today. I brought my basket so that I can collect some fruit before they eat them all. Tiny Silly, the little boy who has joined the flock, gets a bit confused on his walks to the paddock, but eventually he finds his way too.
Silly, come back! Not that way.
He's been integrating so well with the flock, and we're really happy for him. But he's also been living up to his name and can be quite silly at times.
You go to his house. Good boy, come on. Aphrodite, come on.
The sheep often get jealous of the goats getting into the paddock before them, so they stop what they're doing and catch up on the trail. This is what all the goats and sheep have been racing for, the sweet, juicy fruit of the jambu air tree. This delicious fruit is native to Indonesia. They have many different varieties, all in different colours, but this one is my favourite. The red skin breaks open to an almost watermelony inside.
Jambu season came a little bit early this year and I'm so excited. They're so fresh, and these are my favourite ones, the bright red ones. They taste delicious.
The goats like them best though. They always try to sneak a few straight from my basket.
Why don't you want the ones I picked? Here you go.
Magnolia is the most fruit-loving goat on the earth. When all of the other goats get full or bored or decide that it's time to move on to grass, Magnolia will stay and balance on her back legs to try to catch the freshest fruit straight into her mouth.
Maggie, you're not allowed to eat those ones. There's plenty on the ground.
Maggie might also be the most spoiled goat on the earth. We got her and her sister Moth when they were just babies, and Maggie was abandoned by her mother, so she was skinny and sick. Julia spoiled her so much, hand-feeding her, cuddling her almost every second, and now she has so much character from it. She's also a different breed from the other goats, so she's much taller and goofier. You would think this would make her the leader of the flock, but it doesn't. She doesn't care for flock politics, she just cares about fruit. This tree is very random with its fruit. Sometimes it can produce fruit as late as March, and it normally fruits a few times throughout the summer. But this year, just before Christmas, it feels like the perfect timing. The beautiful red fruit hanging like baubles from the tree. The festive season is very different here. And it's funny because in the Northern Hemisphere I can see that Christmas is timed so beautifully, with the middle of winter and the need for community to come together with some excitement during a really long cold season. In Australia, it's the middle of our summer. It's hot and humid and sticky. I think it's funny because in some ways an Australian Christmas will never quite hold the same magic as a cold European candlelit Christmas or a snowy North American Christmas. But in some ways we have our own magic at this time of year. We all meet at the beach and catch up in the hot sun. So many Australians spend Christmas on white sand instead of white snow. A pavlova is an Australian or New Zealand dessert made with basically just eggs and sugar. Traditionally at Christmas, a lot of families bake pavlovas and decorate them for Christmas dessert. I always find it so funny because they're quite a difficult dish to get right and rely heavily off humidity and weather conditions. If a storm comes, your pavlova collapses, or if it's too hot, the eggs don't stiffen. But in Australia, we like to cook them at one time of year in particular, at Christmas, in the middle of summer, and for the most of the East Coast, it's storm season and it's so humid. Maybe it just makes it all the bit more entertaining and super impressive if your pav doesn't collapse. I'm decorating the pavlova with edible flowers from the garden, like cosmos, zinnias, pentas, and of course, some sweet passion fruit. The flower garden is really thriving at the moment, and we feel very proud. The drier start to the summer does mean that the dahlias haven't bloomed yet, and the bananas are growing a bit slower than usual, which kind of just leaves me more excitement for the season ahead. When I bake, I normally like to replace any sugar with honey, and I try to avoid refined sugars, but pavlova is the one exception, because once a year you deserve a sweet sugary cloud covered in fruit. Australia and New Zealand have a big rivalry about the origins of pavlova. Both countries boast its invention from the 1920s when the ballerina Anna Pavlova toured. But I recently found out that it actually has ties back to Germany and was probably brought to both New Zealand and Australia by German immigrants. We decided to celebrate the season with a pavlova feast decorated with so many flowers from the garden. Our friend Lydia, who has been working in the garden with us, is learning floristry. I'm more into the growing side of flowers and the excitement of seeing them bloom, so it's the perfect combination. Lydia set up a festive picnic for the pavlova as a little celebration of the solstice, and we feasted in the field on sweet pavlova.
I love the idea of spending more time celebrating and setting up grand picnics just for the joy of it. We laughed because we often did this as kids, collecting flowers and taking them to the creek with a picnic rug. Now we're harvesting flowers all afternoon and setting up bouquets for our adult versions of these tea parties. Doing these silly things makes us feel so connected to the younger versions of ourselves that had so much joy and excitement for this time of year. A brightly decorated pavlova with flowers from the garden feels like the perfect way to make this happen.
What does it do? It's not meant to be medicinal.
So for Christmas we have a tradition of not really buying each other any big gifts because I feel like there's a lot of overconsumption at this time of year, so we prefer to just kind of do really chill things, normally something we've made or something we've grown or something that we really need sometimes. So like last year I got a banana knife to cut down all my bananas with and I've used it so much and I love it. But this year I'm making Julia a skirt from this dress. So it's a really big dress and it kind of is a bit blockish. So I think what I'm going to do is cut it off and make it into a skirt and I think she's going to love it. I've stolen one of her skirts from her wardrobe when she wasn't looking and it's her favorite skirt. So I'm going to use the waistband of it and copy it and then put it on that skirt so I can make a new version of her favorite skirt. This is the dress on, so it's really beautiful. Like this is all beautiful Indian block print fabric and it's just a bit too square, I think, is the problem. I love the patchwork. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a waistband out of this top section and then it's going to be a skirt. So I think it's going to be a pretty simple job. So I'm just going to trace on the waistband onto this piece of cardboard so that I can have a makeshift pattern and then I can transfer it to the dress because it's going to be really hard once I get to the dress to actually get it right. So to transfer this paper pattern over, I'm using this tool, which I always forget the name of it, but it's like a poker. And it's really cool because you can just kind of poke through the fabric and make these indents into the cardboard and then that will show up and then you can trace it afterwards so you don't have to move everything around. Now that I have all of the holes poked into here, I'm just going to trace onto the paper that and then add seam allowance wherever there needs to be seam allowance. And then I've got my paper pattern. So now that I've got the two kind of waistband things cut out, it looks very dodgy right now. But I'm going to sew this all up later. But I'm just going to unpick the rest of the dress that's hanging off it and then I'll have more to work with. I love doing these kind of rework projects because I feel like I get so many ideas for my own work from unpicking someone else's because I can sort of see how things are made or I just am inspired by something and then I go, oh, well, when I make my own stuff, I might add a few elements of that. At this point, you can kind of see that it's looking like a skirt and I think it's going to be a cute one, but this waistband isn't thick enough, so I need to add something to the back of it. So I've got some iron-on fusing. My passion fruit keep going missing off the vine, or sometimes I find them torn up underneath the vine. And I knew someone was eating them, but I just found out who. So now the waistband is all stiff and it's so much better. That's just gonna look so nice on the body now, instead of a whole floppy waistband that doesn't hold up the whole skirt. The last step is that I'm just going to gather this little bit of skirt into the waistband and then I think it's done, but I'll try it on to make sure. Julia is going to love this skirt so much. I'm all finished and it's really beautiful. I love this design. I think I'm gonna remake this in some different fabric. Julia's gonna love this Christmas present so much. I'm so excited to give it to her. Next I'm just gonna wrap it up and then I'm done. Thank you for watching and happy holidays. Sending love from us and all of the animals, and thank you so much to our patrons for your support on our journey.